I want you to imagine with me the best of the dunya, the best that this world has to offer. And in order to do that, you have to look at the past, the present, and the future, the entire lifespan of the dunya. So imagine for a moment the past, the ancient world, the best of it, with all of its prestige, its glory, with its empires, its victories, its treasures. Now imagine the modern world, the world today, the best of it, with its finest experiences, its pleasures, its delights, its beauties, its aesthetics, all of its fun. Now imagine the world of the future, with all of its technology, with all of its speed, with all of its capabilities, its conveniences and its ease. Even imagine the world of the jinn, because that too is part of Hayatul Dunya, with all of its marvels and all of its possibilities. Because that is a world that defies even our physical laws. Every single pleasure that every human being has ever experienced, every convenience, every capability, every joy that he has ever experienced, every positive experience of every human being in the dunya, all of that has taken place within what we call, and Allah Jalla Jalalu subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says that there are 7 samawat, 7 skies. But sometimes it helps to translate words slightly differently. Skies is not a good translation. Samawat are like territories or zones within which other creations exist, within which other events and experiences occur. And no matter how much our science, our technology develops, we as human beings, while we are on this world, we will never reach the edge of the first sama, the edge of the first sky. The billions of light years that we can see into space, the known universe, all of that is still within Sama'ud Dunya, the first sky. And in a khabar that was recorded in Ruh al-Ma'ani and others, it describes the size of each sama, the size of each zone compared to the sky above it. It says that the first sky, the sky that we are in, the zone, the territory that we are in, compared to the second sky, is like كَحَلْقَةٍ مُلْقَاتٍ بِأَرْضٍ فَلَا or كَحَبَّةٍ فِي الصَّحْرَى. It's like a ring in a desert. That's how big the second zone is, the second sky. Our universe is just a ring compared to that one. It's a desert. And then it continues and it says that the second sky compared to the third is like a ring in a desert. And the third compared to the fourth is like a ring in a desert. And the fourth compared to the fifth is like a ring in a desert. And the fifth compared to the sixth is like a ring in a desert. And finally, the sixth sama compared to the seventh and final sama is like a ring in a desert. And then from the seventh sama and beyond, there exist the kingdoms of paradise. There exist the Jannat. And the further up you go, the Jannat become bigger and bigger and bigger. And then above the Jannat is the kursi, is the body of water, is the arsh of Ar-Rahman subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so it saddens me sometimes when I think about Jannah. And I think that if I can't reach the highest levels of paradise, how much am I missing out on? How much more am I missing out on? When this dunya, every single positive experience of every single human being has ever had on this dunya, if all of that was accumulated and added together and given to us as a reward, any one of us would accept it as a reward because it's so great. But how much more is there then when this entire dunya, all these positive experiences is just a ring? There's an entire desert out there yet to be explored. There's an entire desert of creation and joys out there that is yet to be experienced. How much more is there? There's so much more. Allah has so much and He has so much He wants to give. He says, Allah Jalla wa'ala, when He speaks to us, He says how much He has. He says, Ya ibadi. He says, my slaves, my worshippers. لَوْ أَنَّ أَوَّلَكُمْ وَآخِرَكُمْ. If the first of you and the last of you. وَإِنسَكُمْ وَجِنَّكُمْ. If every human among you and every jinn among you. قَامُوا فِي صَعِيدٍ وَاحِدٍ. If all of you stood in one place. فَسَأَلُونِي. And you asked me for everything that you wanted. فَأَعْطَيْتُ كُلَّ وَاحِدٍ مَسْأَلَةً, and I gave every single one of you what you asked for. مَا نَقَصَ ذَلِكَ مِمَّا عِنْدِي, I will not reduce what is with me. إِلَّا كَمَا يَنْقُصُ الْمِحْيَةُ إِذَا أُدْخِلَ الْبَحْرِ, except like a needle when it is put into an ocean and brought out. How much does that needle take? Just a few drops. It's negligible. Yet how much does Allah have left? An entire ocean left of rewards, of joys, of experiences to give. He has so much. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Yadullahi mal'a, the hand of Allah is full. And since the beginning of the creation of the samawat wal ard, he's been spending every day, every night, he's been giving to everyone and everything. La yaghiduha nafaqa. What is in his hand still has not reduced in the slightest. That's how much Allah Jalla Jalaluhu has. And so it saddens me. It saddens me that those on the lowest levels of paradise, they will never get to see, they will never get to know, they will never get to experience the best of Allah and the best of what He has. They will never get to experience the peak of Allah's treasures, the peak of Allah's joys, the peak of Allah's delights, forever, for eternity. And they will never have an opportunity to go up in order to experience that. That reality, to be deprived of that, to be deprived of the best of Allah and the best of what He has forever, that is what is truly sad. And if you were to ask, is 60, 70, 80 years, is that enough to reach the highest levels of the samawat? Is that enough to reach the highest levels of paradise? Or do you require a longer life? Do you require a longer lifespan? I will tell you what Allah Jalla Jalaluhu subhanahu wa ta'ala He says. He says in Surah Yasin, وَنَكْتُبُ مَا قَدَّمُوا وَآثَارَهُمْ. Allah says we shall write down, we shall record, قَدَّمُوا, all the deeds that you sent forward, وَآثَارَهُمْ, and we shall record, we shall write down the deeds, the legacies that you left behind. In this ayah, Allah, He divides our life into two parts. There's qaddamu, which is the deeds that you do while you are above the ground, while you are alive. And then there's the second part of your life, which is athar, which is the deeds that you do while you are beneath the ground, after you've passed away. Your athar, the longest part of your life in the dunya is your athar, not qaddamu. Qaddamu is just 60, 70, 80 years long, but athar is hundreds, thousands, millions, even billions of years long. I want you to think about the Sahaba, radiyallahu anhu. I'll name you just a few of them. Abu Huraira, Ibn Umar, Anas, and Aisha, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. I named you 4 companions. These 4 companions, just between them, they left for us over 10,000 ahadith. Do you know what that means? That means the bulk of Islam, it comes through them. That means when you pray now, it's as if they are still praying. They get the reward of your salah. When you fast, it's as if they are fasting now. They get the reward of your fasting. When you make hajj or umrah, they get the reward of your hajj or umrah, because the Prophet said, whoever guides to good, whoever facilitates something good, then he will get the reward of everyone who follows him in that guidance. They are getting our Ramadan, they are getting our Dhul Hijjah, they are getting our Arafah and our Laylatul Qadr. They lived one life, but because of the athar, what they left behind, their legacy, the impact that they left behind, is as if they are living multiple lifetimes through us. The best, you cannot be the best version of yourself with just qaddamu, with just 60 or 70 years. You have to have athar, you have to have a legacy that you leave behind. Or in other words, all of us have a potential. You cannot fulfill that potential until and unless you have, as our Sheikh Abu Bayd, Hafizahullah, he would say, unless and until you have an afterlife plan. Not a retirement plan, an afterlife plan. What's an afterlife plan? An afterlife plan is all about establishment. There is no good deed that you do except that you can continue to do that good deed through establishments, through institutions, through groups, through teams, through processes. If you want to continue to offer salah after you've passed away, how do you do that? You build masajid. You want to continue to recite the Quran, make tilawah after you've passed away. How do you do that? You build madaris, madrasas. You want to continue to make dhikr, tasbih and tahmeed of Allah after you've passed away. How do you do that? You leave behind da'wah organizations that take people from kufr and shirk into Islam and Iman. You want to fast after you've passed away. How do you do that? You leave behind initiatives that feed fasting people. You want to give sadaqat and zakat after you passed away. How do you do that? You leave behind awqaf and businesses that gives sadaqat and gives zakat. You want to help people after you passed away. How do you do that? You build health clinics, you build welfare organizations, you build ruqya centers, you build advocacy groups, you build and leave behind charities that are entirely set up to assist, to defend, to protect, to give relief to people. These establishments, these institutions, these groups, these teams will prolong your life. They will increase and diversify what? Your athar, your legacy. And you cannot do this alone. You cannot leave behind establishments alone. You have to be part of a group, part of a team. And you have to give your time to these groups, these teams. And there will come a point where you have no more time to give. But that doesn't mean you should still stop being part of other groups, other establishments, other teams. How do you do that? You do that through your sadaqat, you do that through your donations, you do that through your da'awat, your du'as, you do that through your niyyat, your intentions and your ambitions. This is how you increase and diversify your athar, your legacy. And before I conclude, I just want to make one final point, and that is that men and women, we have different advantages and different privileges. And because of that, sometimes certain opportunities are more easily accessible to one group than the other. And I want you to listen to the story that I read about Sheikh Muhammad Ali and his wife. This story was reported by his son. He says that his father was a very busy man. From the morning all the way until Zuhr, he would be in Dar Al-Hadith in Mecca teaching. That was his job. Then after Zuhr, he would return home, he would have a short nap, qaylula, and then he would get ready for Asr. After Asr, all the way until Maghrib, he'd be working on his books, his articles, his papers. From after Maghrib, he would get ready to head towards Al-Masjid Al-Haram, because straight after Isha, he has to teach. And after Isha, he'd be teaching. He would do this 5 days a week. And then on the weekends, he would work on his books, his papers, his articles. And one day he fell ill, and you can picture the moment. He was lying down, and he looks towards his wife who bore 9 children with him. And he says, Samihini, forgive me, at'abtuki. I've caused you to be tired, I've exhausted you. Sabarti ala faqri wa inshighali. You've had to endure, you've had to be patient with my busy lifestyle and my lack of not spending more on you. And she looks at him, perplexed. ما هذا الكلام? What are you saying? أنت أدخلتنا الجنة في هذه الدنيا. You've entered us into paradise in this world. You've entered us into Jannah while we are in this world. You know what she's saying? Just bear with me for a moment. On the day of judgment, all of us will be judged alone. We'll be taken into account individually. But just because we're judged alone, just because we're taken into account alone, it doesn't mean you will enter paradise alone. Rather, you will enter paradise, as Allah says, Zumara, wafda, in groups. You will enter paradise as a couple. Udkhulul Jannah, antum wa azwajukum. You will enter paradise as a group, as a team, as an organization. You know, that's the whole point of the shafa'ah, the intercession. The intercession is so that no one gets left behind. The Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, there will be believers who cross the bridge, the sirat of a hellfire. When they reach the end, Jannah's in front of them. They're not racing towards Jannah. What are they doing? They're waiting. They're looking around. What are they waiting for? What are they looking for? The people they knew, the people they cared about, the people they used to work with. When they find them, if they see them in trouble, they see them in the hellfire, what did the Prophet said? He said that the believers, they will start making munashada with Allah. What is munashada? Munashada is when a sentence or a verdict has been given on someone. They've been doomed to the hellfire. But then you want to overturn that ruling. You want to overturn that verdict. That's munashada. So the Prophet said they will start making munashada with Allah. Not only did he say that, he said that they will not only be shadid, they will be ashaddu in the munashada. They will be the most insistent. They will make it case after case after case for so and so to be brought out, for so and so to be brought out, until Allah will eventually say, "Khalas, akhriju man araftum." Fine. Those whom you are making munashada for, take them out. And then as you take them out, where are you going to go? There's nowhere else to go except to march towards the gates of paradise together. And the Prophet, he said, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when he was describing that entrance, the entrance of paradise, he was describing how big it is. And he said that the distance between one side to the other, when the gates are open, is a distance of 40 years. وَلَيَأْتِينَ عَلَيْهِ يَوْمٌ وَهُوَ كَذِيظٌ مِنَ الزِّحَامِ. And there will come a day when that entrance will be full of people. It will be overcrowded. You will enter it muzdahimin. It will be too many people entering it. You won't be able to handle it. Why? Because you don't enter paradise alone. You enter paradise how? As a team, as a couple, as a family. That's what she is saying. She is saying, she's understanding that look, that's like a husband or a father's wealth. It doesn't benefit him, it benefits his family in this world. Similarly, his hasanat, his legacies will benefit who? Not just him, but all of us. And vice versa, same with the wife. Her hasanat will also benefit the family. Not only that, you can expand it to everyone else, but teams, my hasanat will benefit my team, and my team's hasanat will benefit me. Our hasanat will benefit each other so long as we are a team, so long as we do things together. That's what she is saying. So now let me conclude or summarize everything that we've been saying. The longest part of our life is athar, not qaddam. It's the legacies that we leave behind. And therefore, you must have an afterlife plan. A plan that leaves behind establishment, that leaves behind institutions, organizations, teams, processes that prolong your life, that make your life longer, that cause you to earn hasana after hasana, good deed after good deed. Because it is through that athar, it is through that legacy that you will start to ascend, you start to go higher and higher up in the samawat, in the jannat, until you reach the highest levels of paradise. And it is only at the highest levels of paradise, it is only there that you will experience the peak of Allah's most magnificent attribute, the best part of His most magnificent attribute, that is His generosity, His ata, His sakha, His jood, His karam, His ihsan, His fadl. You will experience the best of what Allah has, and the best of what He has to give, only there. And you will experience that forever. And so, it should go without saying what a place like this therefore means for your athar. This place is not just my legacy or his legacy, it is also your legacy. And therefore, you also have a responsibility to make sure that this athar, this legacy of yours, it continues. It doesn't just stay for 10, 15, 20 years. It has to continue. It has to have everything in place so that it can continue when you are no longer here.